explain the concepts of quantum computing, people wouldn't know because it hasn't been discovered. But then today people are more familiar with it because that as a concept has been introduced, and then it's expanding our knowledge. So what I'm saying is, what's to say in another 100 or 200 years that there won't be a new concept that comes in that starts to change your understanding again.
Yeah. Have you run into any of these things that are laws or rules that you said rules that govern our knowledge or laws of physics? Have you run into any of those that didn't seem like they were really accurate?
So far, no. If I do, I'll come back to you and let you know. But no, but like in say how we analyse structures, obviously you look at trust, you look at the forces, how it all applies, and like the equations we have for that, the things we're able to produce, yeah, they're right, and they're right as so far as we know now. But you know, there could be something tiny, it could be 0.000002 something off, but you know, I suppose the point I'm trying to make is knowledge can be refined and things can be better understood. I suppose that's something I've seen through my education. I studied physics in school, and then that was at a very basic level, and to be honest with you, I didn't really understand it great. But then as it came to the next level and I've been learning more, studying more and seeing it more in use, in practice, so instead of just talking about vectors and forces, which never made sense because to me at the time it was an abstract concept, I couldn't see how it was applied. But then as it came in, you're starting to see then like, right, how forces are applied, and then it has a direction, and then it made sense. You know, when you see these things in use, or the other thing that was through studying surveying, which is a big part of civil engineering. You know, I was speaking with like kind of the way we studied it was kind of, you know, a few theory sessions and then you were out practically surveying.
Yeah.
And even now sometimes you're sitting in the theory sessions and it doesn't make sense. They're speaking about this angle and that angle and this reading and the read back, and it doesn't always make sense. But then you go out and you start taking and say, now I know I take this, now I know I take that, because you can see it in practice.
Yeah. Didn't you get to bring it back into your other work?
Yeah, because once you start to get a better understanding of something, it becomes more natural for you to use it, and like so. And then another good thing is once you have an experience with something, I find it becomes much easier to then understand the more theoretical behind it, because you know how it works in actuality. Personally, if say I was reading a lab report for an experiment that's conducted to find the deflection moments of a beam, just reading the lab report, read the procedure, it wouldn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But having seen the experiment or seen something similar performed, I'd read it makes sense. I know exactly what's happening here. I know what they're calculating because I've seen it happen. You know, I've seen it in person. I can relate my experience with that to the theory behind it, and then for me that makes a stronger connection, so I can better understand both sides. I can understand what's happening practically because I know the numbers that are behind it. I understand what's happening with the numbers because I know what it actually looks like.
So if you go back to this at the very, very beginning, when we talked about the time when you created something entirely new, and you said, do you mean something you've never seen before or something that's new to me? Yeah. Do you think it's possible to make something you've never seen before? Yeah, that's what I was just talking about there a minute ago. It's entirely possible to make something that's never been seen before, but you don't know what it is because it hasn't been seen. You know, it's like you ever heard an example like, say there's, I don't know, a record of some sort, some arbitrary world record, and everybody's trying the 4 minute mile. Have you heard of that? For years and years people are trying, no one could break a 4 minute mile. Now I'd say if you pick the top 200 runners in the world, every single one of them could break a 4 minute mile. So before, no one thought it'd be done, but then once it was done, once people started it was done, it was then expanded upon. Now I suppose the next one might be to try to break a 3 minute mile, and no one think it'd be done till it's done. So
taking that back to what we're saying here, no one thinks you can discover something new, or it's not obvious to discover something new until it's discovered. Now it's gone, how didn't I think of that? How didn't we see that before?
Do you see it as something that you'll be able to do?
Well, yeah, most definitely. It's everyone's going to see the world a different way. We're all going to understand things differently, interpret things differently. So, yeah, it's very easy. We could have something already, a different way of understanding something that you think is common knowledge, and might be only how we interpret things. So, yeah, it is most definitely possible to discover something new.
So, do you have any other examples of creating something entirely new?
Creating something entirely new. Yeah, I suppose a very mundane example. You have lab reports to do, and they involve a lot of calculations. Something entirely new. What I find, just go on Microsoft Excel, put it in a format that works for me, stick all the equations in it. It's a different way of doing it. I've seen a lot of people sitting there with calculators doing it out, or they do it a different way. But for me, that's the easiest way to do it. Is you put it in, you put the equations in, drag and drop across the cells. It's not extraordinary, but it's new. That document didn't exist. The equations, the format, it didn't exist before. Just go ahead and do it.
This question isn't on my sheet, but I kind of wonder about scales of usefulness with this new knowledge.
Okay, so yeah, I understand what you're asking. So the saying is, if we did discover something new, like, you're asking what's the likelihood of it being useful, or how would it be?
Well, okay, so you came up with a new way to use the Excel spreadsheet to answer something.
Yeah.
And that's useful to you.
Yeah. But
is that new knowledge useful to anyone else?
Yeah, that is a very close example. At most, it could be useful to people who are doing the same lab with the same experiments. They can put their numbers in, get their results. So that is a very small scale, but maybe even using Excel, maybe we go into a certain engineering application or job type. I'd say I work within utilities, and if you come up with a document, could be in Microsoft Excel, and it's just a different way of tracking how much cable is laid in the ground. And that could change the whole industry, because there's never been a document as simple as that for tracking it, or it might be just a better format for doing it. So doing things, we all have our own interpretation of things. So your interpretation of things might be useful to other people. It could change because people just never seen it done that way before. And I think a lot of that reflects on how we personally think, how we process information. Like, every person's going to think in a different way. It's actually funny, because if you're to look at my school results, the two subjects which would be considered core for engineering would be maths and physics. That's a fair assumption to make. I done terrible in both subjects in school. I excelled in languages, but this is what I want to do with. So, but obviously, as say somebody who's really very strong mathematically, they'd have a different way of answering maths problems. They'd have a different way of seeing it. They'd understand things differently. They'd think about the numbers differently than I would. But I'd think of things a different way. I'd see, say, a maths equation, and I personally tend to kind of remember things shorthand about it. So, just that number there, that goes there, that there, like, just things like that. Kind of, it works for me how I think about it. Then my maths lecturer will explain it. She'll explain it a different way.
Yeah.
a way that works in her head, or a way that she feels best to work